But I want to start with trickle-down authoritarianism. This is both making it livable for us, but it's also killing Americans. It has killed over 600,000 Americans, in fact, and it needs to stop. We've always had this dark undercurrent of authoritarianism. I mean, going back to slave owners going to war with the North over their right to own and control other human beings, to Joe McCarthy's demented and phony rants about communists in the State Department, to Nixon's so-called war on drugs. But Donald Trump and his followers have taken it just a huge step further. And the result is over 660,000 dead Americans, most of whom would still be alive today if Trump had just listened to the scientists. And now everyday Americans, from school board members to election volunteers to retail clerks in stores, are quitting their jobs because they're tired of having to deal with these Trump-inspired authoritarian bullies. You know, Trump and his fellow sociopaths in the elected Republican Party class see a clear advantage to themselves in encouraging threats of violence against public officials and volunteers involved in running voting operations. Why? Well, if they can get enough of them to resign and put in their place the new, people who the new voter suppression laws empower to just randomly throw out votes from areas where I think there's some fraud in this precinct. Well, we'll just set those votes aside for the moment. Effectively, retroactively creating provisional ballots for entire neighborhoods, like entire black neighborhoods, entire college towns. They figure if they can do this, they can shave off enough points that Republicans can control red states forever. But what does that, and I get that, right? I mean, that's partisan politics, and we all understand that. It's terrible, but, we get that. But how does that justify Ron DeSantis down in Florida replacing his Surgeon General with a guy who says that the coronavirus vaccines will kill you, and we should just have everybody in Florida expose themselves to the virus, and after tens of thousands of people die, the whole state will have herd immunity. And by the way, if we have any problems, we can treat them with hydroxychloroquine. Honest to God, that's the guy Ron DeSantis just put in charge as his state's Surgeon General. What does this have to do with the Trump devotee anti-maskers trying to run a Michigan County health director off the road twice at 70 miles an hour and kill him because he supports school kids wearing masks? Or somebody walking up to him and yelling, "Hey, mother effer, I hope somebody abuses your kids and forces you to watch." I mean, what does that kind of abuse have to do with just stealing elections? This isn't just about how to deal with a pandemic or Trump's failed coup. This is about the transformation of America from a land of civility and democracy into a neo-fascist state. Milton Mayer, you've heard me talk many times about Milton Mayer's book, They Thought They Were Free. He went to Germany right after World War II and hung out with a bunch of, quote, good Germans, people who kept their heads down, just continued to do their jobs all through the 30s and 40s. The book was called They Thought They Were Free, The Germans 1933 to 1945. And this one college professor said, you see, one doesn't see exactly how or where to move. Believe me, this is true. Each act, each occasion is worse than the last, but only a little worse. You wait for the next and the next. You wait for the one great shocking occasion, thinking that others, when such a shock comes, will join with you in resisting somehow. You don't want to act or even talk alone. You don't want to go out of your way to make trouble. Why not? Well, you're not in the habit of doing it. And it's not just fear of standing alone that restrains you. It's also genuine uncertainty. And that's what's happening here. He watches DeSantis takes actions that he knows are going to kill thousands of people in Florida, but he thinks it's going to get him into the White House in 2024. We watch as Texas outlaws abortions, again, to promote the political in defiance of the Supreme Court, or the previous Supreme Courts anyway, for the same political reasons for Greg Abbott to try and get into the White House, and maybe to keep Dan Patrick out of jail, the Attorney General. We watch as Georgia changes their voting laws so that Republican operatives can functionally take over the voting in largely black districts and maintain white rule. We watch as the Republicans have changed the laws to allow poll watchers, and they're openly recruiting militia groups to come into polling, white militia groups to come into polling places in black neighborhoods and intimidate people. We watch as they try to criminalize and psychologically destroy trans teens and youth across the country with their so-called bathroom bills. We watch as these Trump-supporting bullies hold armed intimidation rallies that echo the black shirts and the brown shirts of the 1920s. And one day too late, this German professor told Milton Mayer in 1949, your principles, if you were sensible of them, all rush in upon you. The burden of self-deception has grown too heavy. And some minor incident, in my case, it was my little boy, hardly more than a baby, saying, Jews, swine, it collapses all at once. And you see that everything has changed, and changed completely under your nose. The world you live in, your nation, your people, it's not the world you were in at all. The forms are all there, all untouched, all reassuring, the houses, the shops, the jobs, the meal times, the visits, the concerts, the cinema, the holidays. But the spirit, which you never noticed because you made the lifelong mistake of identifying it with the forms, is changed. And now you live in a world of hate and fear, and the people who hate and fear do not even know it themselves. When everyone is transformed, no one is transformed. Now you live in a system which rules without responsibility even to God. And here we are. Unless we hold them accountable for their damage to America and the Constitution, and we do so soon and in a way that both they and the world will take seriously and understand, this is going to continue and it's going to get worse. And if we fail, God help us.